All right, man. Let's go ahead and get this shit started, man. We finna go ahead and get it started, man. If there's a video that you want me to go ahead and react to, let me know for sure. But I'm about to get it figured out right now here in a minute. I ain't doing one of these in a minute. So you finna go ahead and get it popping off, man. If there's a video I'm gonna react to in the future, let me know, man. But we're gonna be reacting to some Mike Thurston, Chris Williamson. We're going to be reacting to some Sneeko and Hamza, and we might be reacting to some Jordan Peterson. I'm still trying to figure it out, but we're gonna go and we're gonna get in with this. Let me see if I can find my favorite parts of this podcast. I have watched. Now this one I actually haven't watched, so we're gonna have to watch the whole thing. The other ones I have watched parts of. So this is fairly new. This was posted a few days ago, so yeah, let's get it rocking, brother.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the show. It is a 2 million subscriber Q&A episode. You already got to see
2 million for me soon.
Don't
worry about it.
Thing with a behind-the-scenes vlog. If you didn't watch that, you should go and check it out. But as is tradition, I asked for questions from Twitter and YouTube community and Instagram. We got a lot, and these ones are really, really insightful. I don't think I've had as many awesome questions before. So
okay,
as the
hurry
show
up.
gets bigger, the audience appears to be getting smarter as well.
By the way,
so.
he is probably my favorite
Let's get
podcaster
into
right now, for damn sure.
Spunky Kumar. Spunky Kumar. How do you know who your real friends are? That's a good question. I guess I realized...
Come on, brother. If you don't know who the fuck your real friends are, they're not your real friends. If you even have to question that shit even for a second, they're not your friends. I don't understand. Like, that's I don't know. How do you know, man? What kind of fucking question is that? Off the rip. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In my 20s, that a lot of the people that were my friends were actually just drinking partners. There were people who went to the same.
I heard
this
shit by him before.
At the same times as me, but if I was sober or if there wasn't something super stimulating happening, I don't know how much I would enjoy. I wasn't finding myself spending time around them. So I guess a good question to ask yourself is: do you spend time around them when it's just you? When there isn't a ton of other stimulation? Because if the only time that you can ever hang with people is if you go to a festival or if you go and watch a movie or if something crazy is going on, how deep is that connection and how much are they just an available observer that can accompany you to, like a chaperone?
You know what? Okay, hold up. You know what's interesting as well? Like I said, this is completely unrelated. I'm just giving my own take of this shit. I find it very, very interesting how, like, if you observe people enough, right? If you watch certain like content creators, they'll answer the questions with the same type of answer, like something very, very similar. It's like what they've been programmed. I do this too, and most, like I said, probably if you've watched anybody, you can kind of see them kind of do that same thing where they kind of answer with the same kind of shit, and they have like their go-tos and shit like that. That's one of his go-tos. One of his go-tos is to bring up the drinking partner thing. He's mentioned that on a few podcasts where he talks about how yeah, basically he couldn't distinguish what his real friends were, and he had to reevaluate what his friends were. Were they actually his friends, or were they just somebody that was trying to have a degenerate good time, as opposed to actually having a genuine good time? So I find that very, very interesting. But we're gonna keep rocking, brother.
Friends are the people that you would happily spend time with them in the most boring situation possible. I think that's a good judge of
hell of a good judge
of how close you are. Benjamin Doron. How can you work hard and push if you don't see results immediately? Would love tips. Well, this is ultimately everything. When you start doing a thing, for the most part, the gains accrue very slowly. There's some things where it doesn't. Like going to the gym is pretty good because noob gains are pretty high, or skill acquisition, physical skill acquisition is always pretty quick in the beginning. You start playing pickleball and you're never going to be as good over the space of 10 sessions as the first 10 because you didn't even know the rules when you turned up. But largely, when you start doing a thing, the results tend to be pretty slow, and then as you get better and better and better over time, the results will come more quickly. My solution, it's so trite to say it, but that motivation is the thing that gets you started, and then habit is the thing that keeps you going. Once you begin a routine of doing anything, stopping yourself from doing that routine, whether it's good or bad, actually becomes really difficult. I'm training first thing in the morning at the moment. If I don't train, my day feels off. It's genuinely harder for me to not go to the gym than it is to go to the gym at 7:40 a.m. in the morning. So my advice would be, use as much motivation, whether that comes from wanting to be better, resentment for the people that have scorned you in the past, this
Dark
desire
motivation.
to prove yourself. Use whatever fuel you have, both good and bad, to get yourself moving and stay as consistent as possible.
Consistent.
And then after you get to the stage where results will begin to come, you should have already got that routine thing going too. So for me, results not coming in the beginning is hopefully salved by the fact that your motivation is at its highest, and then as motivation begins to wane, you should have the habituated routine to come and sort of take over from there.
That is personally what I'm working on right now. I'm working on the consistency. I've already been doing this for a few years now, but I'm trying to get more consistent. The second I get more consistent, I understand what he's talking about. You'll kind of get burned out, but around that same time that you'll get burned out is around the same time that you'll start seeing more results if you're being consistent. And that'll give you enough motivation and discipline, hopefully, you would think, to keep pushing forth with whatever you're doing. Even if you're somewhat burning out, you won't burn out as much. Yeah, I find that it's a very, very interesting thing. Like I said, that question was very, very interesting because, like I said, I've been doing this for a long period of time. I haven't got necessarily burned out, right? I've already almost done 200 podcast episodes, but yeah, it is definitely a thing that I consider all the time of like, kind of like, yes, I'm doing this. I'm not seeing as much results as I would like. What is truly keeping me going? And I would say, with anything, I would say part of it's going to be like the social obligation, which I think is something that a lot of people should take advantage of. I was hearing Dan Coe talk about this, my other favorite YouTuber, besides him and Hamza, of course. He was talking about how you should create deadlines for your projects, or like let's just say you're creating a course, or let's just say you're creating a thing within business, right? Essentially, he's like you need to put a deadline on yourself, so you have a social obligation to fulfill that, or you will look like an idiot. Pretty much, that's essentially the concept, and that is essentially the same thing, right? If I create a social perception, right, just like anyone would, right? If you have this identity, right, you're going to try your best to try to maintain that identity, or else you look like a fucking fraud. Simple as that. There's really no other way around it. So, like I said, it is a good thing, for sure. Especially if it's the identity that you value to uphold, if it's the person that you value to be, as opposed to doing exactly what you want. And that, I think that's worked out for me. Doing a podcast has been probably one of the most beneficial things when it comes to being painfully self-aware of all my flaws and all the things that I know I need to get better at, because I understand that I have a scope on me, right? And if I do blow up, or when I do blow up, that scope is going to be magnified, and they're going to be looking in these past moments to identify certain things about me. So, like I said, it makes you become really, really self-aware, for sure, hyper self-aware.
Sir Coleman 4444. Do you think that the guests you have on could be supporting your worldview rather than challenging it? Yeah, actually, I think so. I think we all find people who we feel like we're going to vibe with. You know, we get on with people who share our values and who we think, well, this is going to be a fun conversation. You know, they think this thing and I think this thing, and I'd love to teach them about this idea because I think they'd be really interested in it, as opposed to someone who has a completely different worldview and you're kind of speaking different languages. Do I think that it would be a better world where the show had more people on who challenged my worldview? I don't really know what that would mean. Like, I'm open to pretty much anybody saying anything at me. And I guess it specifically means what worldview we're talking about.
So one thing I wanted to mention with this, I find this very, very interesting. I do believe that people should challenge their opinions, right? Your opinion is only as good as your ability to go ahead and defend it, right? Or your take on something, right? But then you have to evaluate how close is your opinion to the actual truth of the situation that exists within the real world application, the observation that needs to be made not only from your perspective but from the perspective of others that would deem this to be the correct way of living, right? Or the correct observation or the correct philosophy of life, right? I feel like there's not enough people that really like. I feel like it's okay. It's okay. Like so for example, I would say that he has a very, very good grasp. He's mature. He's talked to a lot of people. He has oriented himself properly, and he has accomplished the goals that he set out to go ahead and accomplish. So I would say his worldview is a lot more well-rounded when compared to the average person. So like I said, the people that he brings on, if even if they are talking about the similar things or have similar values, it doesn't necessarily need to be challenging because he has already oriented himself properly. That's another thing that I think that people do not take into account is your ability to orient yourself properly. If you're not able to orient yourself properly, and you just want people that are going to challenge your point of view, right? I feel like that can be like lowering of quality, especially if you know, not only through your perspective, but from the perspective of others, the things that you're doing are right. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I find that very, very interesting. And a lot of people, a lot of people, they have that kind of take, but then you have to evaluate the character that you're observing, right? If they're doing things wrong, that's one thing. And then, like I said, of course, those people would need to be challenged, right? People who are doing things wrong need to be challenged in some type of way, right? People who are doing things right automatically are going to be drawn to do it. Automatically are going to be drawn to people who are also doing things right. That's pretty common sense, I'd say.
Worldview evolution, because that's quite fundamental, or is it a subset within evolutionary theory? Is it to do with culture, or is it to do with a specific subset within culture? Is it to do with how we should deal with the media, or is it how we should deal with celebrity, or is it how we should approach fame? So I think I'm certainly trying my best to bring on people who have differing points of view. Perfect example of this, Abigail Schreier, Bad Therapy. She wrote a book. Everyone's kind of keen about it because it's in the same ballpark as Jonathan Haidt's book and Jean Twangi's book. It's this sort of critique of the fragility of Gen Z, which is being passed down and its screens and smartphones and all the rest of it. I actually quite disagreed with a lot of her takes, and I tried to be really challenging when I had a conversation. But from the outside, it probably looks like it's something that I would be on board with. So I'm trying hard. I genuinely am trying hard to find a more...
And another thing is this, right? Like I said, if you bring somebody into your environment, the last thing that you would want is conflict. So like even that's what he mentioned, right? He'll even try to do a challenging podcast. But why the fuck would I bring somebody in here who's really gonna be like super super critical or super like against my point of view? Like I said, nobody even wants to be around people like that. Like I said, I do believe it is somewhat essential to test your ideas out in some type of capacity, but you do that in the real world. You don't do that fucking. You don't. I'm not gonna say you don't invite that shit, but you kind of don't invite that shit. I feel like that's just like you do invite it, but you kind of don't invite it, but you do invite it. You should be open to it, but you don't be inviting to it, right? Like I said, I'm not gonna bring a fucking feminist on the podcast and try to debate her. Like I think that shit's dumb, right? I think it would be entertaining, but like I said, if it's all about orienting yourself properly in the world, right? Taking enough observations is the thing I've already mentioned earlier, right? If you see someone fails to do that, and then you kind of just want to talk about that, it's like almost like Fresh and Fit, right? They are trying to, like I said, I wouldn't want to be on here to try to expose somebody just for the reaction, just for the views, just for the entertainment factor. I feel like that's kind of dumb, right? So like I said, I would much rather just leave those people to themselves, and then let them eventually mature. That's all I'm gonna say. Pretty much, that's all I have to say.
Approach to doing the show, to bringing on people with differing points of view. That being said, it's kind of hard to get people who don't agree with me to come on. It's not just a one-way street. I don't just get to choose people who come on and they come on. Like I've tried to get Hassan Abi on the show for forever. Like every time that I reach out to people who seem to be left of center, it's maybe like twice as hard, 3 times as hard to bring those people on. So I would love suggestions. If you guys are like,
they don't even want the smoke anyways. That's what I'm saying.
This person would be great. Throw it in the comments. Like I'll pick it up, or one of the guys will pick it up, and we do see that stuff. So if there's someone that you think is well-meaning and awesome and interesting and insightful, I'm down to speak to any of them. So
go ahead and speak to me, you dog.
Yes. The Slayer Moody. Hello, Chris. Do 2 million subs still feel as good as the first 1,000 subs? Bonus round. How do you celebrate such a monumental milestone? Love from Montreal. Thank you. 1,000 subs felt really good. James Smith has this idea of all wins feel the same. And it's true. You don't get an Uber surcharge rating for hitting 2 mil compared with when you hit your first 1,000, which is cool, actually, because it means that small wins give you a good sense, even though they're not big wins. Small wins can be just as good as big wins.
I'm fucked then.
We celebrated by going to see the Texas Rangers play the Houston Astros.
I'm at a point where like I said, let's just say I blew up. I would literally wouldn't even be that surprised. I'd just be like, oh, okay, like which is probably actually very very bad, right? You would think that like some people would be like, holy shit, like I never have that reaction. I'm really never too high or never too low. So for like, let's just say I did hit a milestone or like a what people would deem to be a milestone, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, like I finally no, I'd be like, what the fuck I put the work in for? This is what I work for. This is who I am. This is what I've always this is what I was destined to do. This is who I'm supposed to be, right? This is the situation I'm supposed to be in, right? Like I said, I have that kind of different take, right? Probably is fucking not as good, but I'm just being an observer of my own self. Good shit, G. Got the reaction video all set up. Yes, sir.
Going in, thought it was going to be an amazing game, ended up losing 3-0, and basically nothing happened. But the experience was awesome. We got Terry Blacks delivered. We got in a really nice van and
Oh, I fucking skipped ahead or no?
That was fun. But the game could have been otherwise better. Gurugos Pan. Nailed it. Any info about your upcoming book? So, yes, I have signed Penguin, Random House portfolio in the US and Hachette Hodder in the UK. This will be submitted. P1. Do you worry that the flash that is your increased production value takes away from the substance of the wisdom that comes from your guests? This comes from someone who delivers all day and doesn't see your set except for the clips I see after I'm finished working. So, fair comment. We got a lot of...
You know what? This is completely different, but I find this to be interesting, right? I've had people come up to me and like, oh yeah, man, I watched the podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, which one? They're like, oh yeah, this one 60-second clip. I'm like, dog. I find that funny. That's something that is like, with being a creative, that's I think that's probably one of the funniest things that I've observed. I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I'll never really get the appreciation. Even when I do get the credit, the appreciation that I feel like the creator desires, right? Just I would say just in general, I feel like most creatives probably don't get the satisfaction of like, I don't know, maybe like I said, maybe it's satisfying the ego or something like that, but I feel like a lot of people can relate with that. Like I said, maybe even music artists, maybe even like just creators in general, right? Their perceived best piece of work that they've created is not necessarily always the equivalent to what is the most recognized or gets the most views. And that has probably been one of the most interesting things of being a creative in general, right? Like I feel like I've made a lot of really good videos. They didn't get that much credit, and then I feel like I've also made not as well edited videos or not as quality videos in terms of my speech and things like that, and those have done better. Like I said, it's literally a victim of the algorithm. But yeah, I feel like that is a struggle of probably a lot of different creators, but at the same time, it's just like, guess you got to roll with it, man. That's why you can't necessarily be like too focused in on like the I guess the validation of others. You got to kind of seek that your own by like just doing the thing. That's what I'd say. But yeah.
Back about this to do with, and I knew that this was going to come, right? We spent a lot of money and tried to do something kind of experimental.
You know what? I love him to death. We're gonna switch this shit up, brother. I like this podcast. This podcast is fucking solid. So we'll do this one.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with social media now?
Oh, I think I would love to not have to be on it so much, but I know it's something which I need to be doing regularly more than ever. Like especially with what we do in today's day and age, you have to be everywhere.
Fuck Mike Thirsty fucking swole shit.
I don't like how I still get sucked into it every single time in terms of the doom scrolling. I go on there to do a task, then I get distracted by something, and then I'm scrolling. Then I
haven't done that.
I'm like, 15 minutes, fucking hell. I'm like, hang on, I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do, so I have to go back onto it again. So
I've done that. I did that today.
I think,
fucking tragic.
yeah, from that point of view, I hate how good it is at just sucking you in and rewarding you for just getting like a notification or whatever.
Some bitch shit. I don't know.
In terms of like YouTube and stuff, I'm quite selective with what I consume. Like when I go onto YouTube, I like to watch things which I'm going to, no doubt, get educated by. I like to watch a lot of podcasts, anything which I'm going to learn something by. Instagram as well. It's a bit of a mess. I like now to employ as many people as possible to just run the
Be the
platforms.
buffer.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that I don't have to go onto it. I still, actually, it's a recent thing. I don't look at comments anymore.
Okay.
That used to still mess with your head. I think particularly like with the gym related videos, I would do a gym workout or try and do an educational video talking about like how to do this exercise or whatever. And then the comment section's all steroids. Why are you lying to
Bro,
us?
you're too
Fake
fucking
natty."
swole.
It's
That's
just like,
why.
I'm trying to help people. Yeah, the whole conversation is about whether or not I'm natural, and it used to
It's
annoy me
too
so
fucking
much that I
swole,
actually
dog.
pivoted away from making gym videos because it was so annoying. That I
Because
just
no one's talking about your.
That's the best problem to have.
Supposed
Bro, isn't
steroid
that not the best fucking problem to have? Why is he bitching about that? I'm sorry. I love him to death. I love him to death, right? Mike Thurston, he's a G, but like that's got to be the fucking best problem to have. You're natural and everybody's focused in on your fucking gains, not the education. But he's like they're doubting you, but in reality it's like the ultimate fucking flex. Man, I'm motherfucker got some good ass problems, man. What the fuck is he complaining
lifestyle
about?
vlog in Marbella.
yeah. So like the less gym related stuff in it, there's kind of less negativity.
Dude, I mean that's something that's really true, that the audience gets to influence the direction of the creator in a lot of ways, and if they make them feel very uncomfortable about whatever it is that they're doing, they're going to start to lean away from that type of content.
It was one of the reasons why I got a hair transplant, because when I was losing my hair and it was thinning really badly, when I look back at it now, I was like, poof, like it was pretty bad. And I was like,
I don't ever remember it being that
it was
bad,
pretty
was
bad.
it?
There was a 6-month phase where probably should have just shaved it. Like, you know how when everyone's losing their hair, they try and just cling onto it.
Yep.
And you just got like little
Got a fucking genius
strands
idea right now,
just,
locked in.
You know, it's looking pretty
Alan Shearer.
pathetic and lonely. And the whole comment section was just about, he's losing his hair, like, oh, the steroids again, like, oh.
Wow.
And it was just like, I'm making these videos, yet all everybody wants to talk about is the hair loss.
Yeah. Well, we spoke about this the last time that I had you on. I mentioned that I admire the fact that you've chosen to stay out of internet drama as best you can. I think that's partly both yours and my disposition, which is I'm just not very conflicty person. I quite like being chill and peaceful and relaxing, and I'm not in it for the beef. But there's certainly, it feels extra unfair if you haven't made a career out of, like James Smith, right? My partner in Newtonic. He made a career calling people out for like shit fitness advice, or for lying about stuff, or for editing photos, or for being, unethical. It's kind of open season for him, because guess what? Like that's the way that you went about things. I knew, like, as we were in the build-up launching this drink, he started doing call-out videos about Prime and everything else. And I was like, James, you do know that by doing this, you're just making it open season on us. But anyway, for him, it's like, all right, well, if you've spent a lot of time criticizing other people, it's kind of open season on you. That's not to say that people who've never criticized should be insulated from any criticism. But
it's just like, hang on, what have I done to you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why are you dragging me into this?
yeah,
But in a way, it's kind of good in one sense because it's exposure. But
Yes.
when it is a person of authority talking shit about you,
Fuck, I'm skipping ahead. Fuck, I can't deal with it. I'm sorry.
that sort of journey taught you about where confidence comes from, because it has to come from something more than simply the way that you look.
yeah, I learned that. I think
You know what? I like talking about this shit, right? So the question is basically where confidence should come from, right? Confidence should come from many different areas, right? This is my personal philosophy. This is a question that I like to ask a lot of like young kids, 18-year-olds, things like that, people fresh out of high school, right? I believe that for a man specifically, it comes from the confidence. It comes from the competence of what you're able to provide to the world, right? And if you're 18 years old, right, you haven't really done shit. Most of the confidence that you have is not necessarily it's a facade. It's not necessarily like real, tangible evidence that would suggest that you are exactly who you are, because who you are is the lowest you'll fucking ever be. You see what I'm saying? So your confidence really can't be the high. So like I said, I like to ask, hey, first I ask the question, do you consider yourself a confident person? And then most of the time, most people say, oh yes, and then I'll be like, okay, what contributes to your confidence? And then they'll be like, and then they really want. Most people don't have a good answer with that, and I think that's really really funny. Not like in like taunting way, but in like a way like, do you not have? Are you not competent enough to really speak on what really brings the confidence out of you? Like I said, for me, for example, I've been building and working on a personal brand, right? So my ability to get better within that and also contributes to my ability to get better at certain skills that come along with that, right? And to know that I'm pursuing a purpose, right? Those are all things that can contribute to confidence. On top of that, I'm not a bad looking guy, right? Um, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a bad looking guy, so I can be attractive to women, which can contribute to confidence, right? Little things like that. Where confidence should come from, like I said, I just do believe it's going to come from your competence, right? Your competence in any and every aspect of life. You're going to be confident in some things. You're going to be not confident in other things.
It's many different areas of life. I don't think I was fully content and comfortable with the person that I was probably at the age of 20, 27, 28. I just feel like at that point in time I was like, okay, yeah, my shit is sorted now. I think a lot of it came from being financially comfortable as well. I feel like it's quite hard to be comfortable, not comfortable, sorry, confident when you have no money in your account. Like you could look the part, you could be, great with women or great at talking.
Sure.
But let's say, for example, if I was in a room full of very successful entrepreneurs that had a lot of money, I would feel the absolute opposite of confident. I'd be like, wow, I really have nothing to offer in this situation right now. So the moment I got my finances sorted,
That's interesting.
I was
That
happy
just that,
with
that
my
exposes
physique,
that exposes exactly what he values. But sure.
the way I looked, the lessons which I had learned from previous relationships and just from previous work experiences.
What about the social confidence or the confidence with women as well, though?
I think that came from just experience of having lots of different relationships. Because I just, like now, or in the past few years when I'd been dating someone the first time or going on a first date, it's just like, oh, here we go again. Like, you just know.
So like I find that very, very interesting. He mentioned like the money thing, right? I know plenty of people that have a lot of money that are absolutely fucking idiots still, right? They don't have clearly defined values, that are still unhappy, right? Because they don't have necessarily um, a well balanced life, or they don't have necessarily the things that money can't buy, right? And like I said, that I feel like that would be interesting as well. So like the fact that he said that he would feel less confident around people that have money, right? If anything, if you have a lot of things that money can't buy, that a lot of people that do have money don't have, wouldn't that give you shouldn't that give you confidence, a different type of confidence, right? For me, for example, right, I can meet a guy that has a lot of money. Does he have a day one woman? He probably doesn't, right? Does he have a best friend that would take a bullet for him? Maybe, maybe not. See what I'm saying? Those are things that money truly cannot buy. Or maybe, like I said, maybe he doesn't have like a supportive family. Like I said, things that money cannot buy. You can have a really really nice car, but if you like I said, if something's broken within inside, or life could be better outside of the monetary aspect, then like I said, I can see. Like I said, people that have money don't have. Some of them don't have confidence. Let's keep it 1,000, right? So it's like it's interesting that he brought that up though.
You know what to do, you know what to say, and everything is good. But I think as well, this being on YouTube has helped massively. So I have drastically improved my ability to speak in front of the camera, speak in front of like lots of different people, to be able to have a conversation with someone, to be able to entertain the audience that's watching you. That has massively helped with my social interactions. Because most of the time
I agree.
I'm more introverted. Like if you look at the introverted extrovert scale, I'm more on the introverted side. I think before the days of YouTube, I was a lot more introverted. Like I had my group of friends and my social circle, but you'd never see me come out of my shell unless I was with my closest friends. And even then, if I was in a situation with like a lot of people, I'd be the quiet guy, not really saying anything. I would just listen. So the whole journey through the social media, the YouTube, has helped me to come out of my shell, and I'm a lot more, confident now. I have a lot more to say, but there's still that introverted aspect to me where, let's say, for example, you've had a day full of socializing, talking, whatever. I come back home and I'm like
Dead.
and I need to be alone just to recharge. So it's, yeah, I think I always ask myself this, and I want to ask you this as well. If there's one thing that you could change about yourself, what would it be? Because for me, I think I would like.
Hold on, I want to mention something on that. So he basically said, this is what you must understand as well, right? He said that when he's around people, that he feels that he's losing his energy, right? Hear this out. He said he feels like he's losing his energy, right? That is simply because of the people that you surround yourself with. Some people are energy vampires and some people give you energy. If you're hanging around the right people, they're going to give you energy. If you have good conversation, engaging conversation, that's going to keep you awake. That's going to give you energy. If you're around people that you really don't give a fuck about, if you're out in the club, I could understand that because quite frankly, they're energy vampires. You see what I'm saying? So like I feel like the fact that he made that comment is just suggesting that he's probably not around people that could give him the amount of energy that another person could give him, if that makes any sense, right? So I just thought that was interesting. It's definitely about who you're around for sure, right? Even I'm not gonna say I'm the most social person, but even me, for example, right? I would say I'm definitely a lot more social than a lot of people that I know, right? A lot more people. I would say there's a lot of people that are definitely very, very introverted. But with that being said, I don't necessarily feel like when I'm around those people, when I'm around people that I like talking to, or even people that I have never met that have engaging conversation, I don't feel like I'm ever like out of energy or like say coming out of the interaction. I don't feel like I'm out of energy, but I can definitely see myself in a position where I'm around people I really don't give a fuck about, and then when I get home, I'm just like, damn, I'm out of energy because energy is very, very vital, and that's why you must spend it very, very wisely with the people that you spend it with, for sure.
Could be more extroverted. I feel like I would be able to go further with my career and everything that I'm doing because I would just naturally want to be meeting everyone, going to events, chatting to everyone, like just entertaining everyone. But to me, that's like it takes a lot of work for me to do that. And even sometimes before there's an event, I have to psych myself up to go because I just want to stay at home and just do my thing and be alone sometimes. But I'm like, I need to go to this thing. So I have to, get myself prepared. And then I go and I do it. And I'm actually really happy after it's done because I went and did something I didn't want to do. And it ended up actually being like really good.
There's a big hill to get over before you do it, though. Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be a huge change for me if I did that. It does, even though standing out the front of 1,000 club nights and meeting 1 million people, right, across a 15-year career, that it didn't feel like socializing. I wasn't properly invested in all of these people. It was just like
a lot of small talk.
Yeah, which was good.
With drunk people.
It's a skill.
With very drunk people.
That is a skill, though.
I would have liked to have tuned up the extroversion as well, because it does take a good chunk of energy for me to go and do that. I've noticed that with these live shows, doing the meet and greet at the end.
Oh,
it's like a high.
Hold on, I want to mention that as well, right? Isn't that very, very interesting how like some people can be very, very good at small talk and other people can be very, very good at like in-depth conversation, and the people that are very, very good at in-depth conversation could also be very, very poor at small talk or have a lacking of small talk. And the people, like I said, that are very, very extroverted and very, very good at small talk, very, very good at just bringing up conversations, asking questions. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, when they're trying to have a really in-depth, meaningful conversation, they just cannot do it. People are fucking weird, dog. People are weird, for real.
Interval conversation of 500, 600 people in half an hour or 45 minutes. That dude, Peterson, going on this tour that he's done, which is basically a permanent world tour. And he's meeting, I think you need to get a special ticket or whatever. So there's maybe 300 people, 400 people a night that have the like big dick ticket that allows you to get the meet and greet. But he's doing it every single night, like 50 dates, 100 dates a year. I don't know how many.
It's a big dick meet and greet.
For me, very, very exhausting. I think that he's kind of a little bit introverted at least as well. So that would be a huge change. What else do I wish that I would change? I have a good bit of self-doubt around whether or not I'm doing the right thing or whether I'm doing the thing right.
I think you're doing it right. I
I'm
think
trying.
Certainly now the results.
That's the
thing.
critic. That's the self-critic,
when
brother.
I see you interview these people, I'm like, fuck, you were born to do this.
Thank you.
And I think it's like
He's still critical, brother.
you've not even really got started yet.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
what is the goal? You want to be the number one podcast in the world.
Can't be better than
Rogan's
me
got
though.
that title,
Sorry.
man. Like the guys are fucking.
I liked what Patrick said about the three main characteristics
Yes.
or attributes of a good or the best
Yes.
podcaster.
Yeah.
One of them is having that natural curiosity
Okay.
and asking the right questions.
Okay.
The other thing is being able to entertain the guest,
Okay.
be a good host. And the other one is actually having an audience that really want to hear your own opinion on a specific topic.
I'm only lacking one then.
I
Fuck.
had a
Son
conversation
of a
about
bitch.
this. One of the Q&As at the live show asked about basically, are you going to do more solo stuff over the next few years? And I was so
He should.
unconfident and so unprepared to think that I was bigger than I am. Like, who am I to spout my opinion sat at a table with Andrew Huberman? Like, it's obvious who's the A side here, right? It's obviously him. He's the one that's got the expertise and the PhD from Stanford and all the rest of it. Just let him shine. And I'm really good at letting other people shine. But there definitely seems to be, I don't know, there's like, it's good to develop your own opinions around things and to put those forward and to have faith that what you have to say might be of use or of interest to people. And more than that, to play with ideas. Think, I wonder what happens. I wonder what people think about this. I've got this idea about this thing. I wonder what people think about that. But I think for a good
That's
chunk of time
interesting.
as well, I was just so concerned about putting something forward that made me look stupid. I'm going to put this idea forward and I'm...
What, the live shows?
No. On the show, on the podcast. So, gonna have some idea. I've got a take on whatever the.
Hold on, Anthony said, "Protect your spades. People are energy vampires. Once you get burned, don't put your hand back in the damn fire."
Whatever this thing
Oh,
is.
shit.
You know nothing about. But when you're sat with an expert, you always know nothing in comparison with the expert, even if you know almost everything in comparison with a normal person that knows nothing about it, right? So because I've made a career out of being the most stupid person in every conversation. Right?
Do you feel like there's a pressure
That's
for you
interesting.
to
Fuck.
improve your knowledge in all these different areas? Because you've had guests on from every different industry and market.
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like, fuck, I need to learn more about this and more about this and more about this?
So,
Because being a good host is your ability to just have like good general knowledge about fucking everything.
that's true. So I think I wanted to do this as a challenge a year ago. I wanted to do a day of recording where I didn't know anything about the guest. I didn't know who they were, and I would just sit down opposite them,
that's
and I
scary.
had to try and hold a conversation together without like the audience realizing, and me just going like, so, you know, what do you think most people get wrong about the world that you come from? Like, and just like trying to sort of work out without actually asking them, so what do you do? I thought that would be kind of fun to do.
Did
but
you do it?
I'd still consider doing it.
Hasn't done it yet.
It's a big long list of things that I want to do. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why I steered clear of putting my own opinion forward was I didn't want to feel silly. I didn't want to say things. The internet can be a bit of a fucking ruthless place with playing with ideas.
Who the
And,
fuck cares,
you know,
brother?
You don't want to look like the idiot in the room more than you already are. But yeah, I know enough now to be able to hold a conversation with pretty much anybody, especially if it's about them. Right? If it's, we're talking about fitness, we're talking about psychology, we're talking about philosophy, we're talking about politics, we're talking about whatever. It's like I can draw out of pretty much anyone. When it comes to me having my own takes on stuff, I have things that, you know, I've got domains of expertise. You want to talk to me about training, about mental health, about psychology, evolution, like all of these things I've got. But if we start to push out into, how are we going to fix the problems of the Middle East? It's like, bro, like that's not my bag. And then working out where the line is between those two. And not just spouting more noise into the world, actually adding some signal which is useful to people. That's something that maybe I should do more. But then another bit of me thinks, well, just bring on the guy that knows and be the person that's able to get the best answer out of them.
Ask the right
Yeah,
person.
ask the fucking expert. Yeah. Like, I don't need to go on WebMD and try and self-diagnose like whatever ailment I've got. It's like, just get the equivalent of the doctor on and speak to that person.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a bit of me that wants to do, that doesn't just only want to be the person that plays second string to the expert in the room. Like, it'd be great to be considered an expert in my own right. And yeah, it's...
So I think part of that is, here's the thing, right? He needs to just do more podcasts with people where he's not the fucking host. And I thought about that myself, right? I think I'd be a very, very good podcast. Like if somebody were to like, hey champ, I need you to come on the podcast and just talk about shit, and I'll have a few questions for you. I feel like I'd be a really, really entertaining guest. But like I said, obviously if you have a podcast, right, that is something that I kind of would want to. I'd dive into like maybe more of like the interview or the asking questions and shit like that. But I like I said, I think if somebody were to bring me on a podcast and just like, hey, what is your take on this? And I'd be able to give a very, very like interesting, well thought out take in a matter of like a few seconds, as opposed to like coming up with the podcast material myself and shit like that. But yeah, the podcast is pretty good so far. Like I said, if there's a video that I'm gonna go and react to, let me know.
Getting past that discomfort or that.
Yeah, he just needs to do more podcasts without
whether or not you have legitimacy.
Or on other
because
people's
everyone else
podcasts.
has a million letters after their name, or is a PhD, or is a billionaire or something, and you go, what the fuck? Like, why should I'm just the guy that asks the questions.
Speaking of discomfort, what was it like the first time doing the show? Like the very first show,
Live show.
Were you shitting yourself?
That was nerve-wracking. Yeah,
Because for me,
fuck that.
yeah,
That'd be
the
fucking nuts.
thought of that is pretty fucking scary. I think as well, it's Q&A is fine, but to go up there by yourself and to talk for an hour or more about something, like at first I was thinking, like, what the hell would I even talk about? Like, what do people even want to know? Like, I guess I would have to sit down and think about it. I'm sure that there is an audience out there.
You know, I'm not gonna say that I do this, but I kind of do a version of this. I feel like streamers have the advantage; they have the upper hand on this, because it's not as like when you do a stream and shit, like it's more genuine. You get the more genuine character as opposed to just like, oh, this is what I'm gonna talk about, and I'm gonna write it down, and then I'm gonna rehearse it on the camera. I'm gonna press record, and then if I fuck up, I'm just gonna go back and do the shit over again to make sure I get the perfect fucking take. That's not like super authentic or super genuine. And I feel like that's where the podcasters who are doing it live like me have the leg up on people that are just doing podcasts that are basically curating the perfect image of themselves during the podcast, right? This is more like people know that I'm more human, or a person who does this would be more human, just simply based off of the simple fact that you're going to see all my fuck ups. You're going to see all my great moments, and more importantly, like I said, the fuck ups are going to be there, and you're going to be able to witness them, hey, just like me for the first time, right?
Let me talk about something.
Dude, I'd attend. But yeah,
And on top of that shit, right? If he had, here's the thing, what you must realize is this. Even then, he's doing a version of it, and like I said, you could say it for me as well, right? He's doing a version of it with an iPad in front of him, right? I guess you could say it's very, very similar, because like I said, I'm having like a Mac in front of me, right? Which obviously y'all can't see, but he has a iPad in front of him. If I were to go sit down with anybody in the realm of anything, right? And I had good questions lined up, and I just needed to be able to maintain a conversation while asking the questions that I had already thought about previously to really go ahead and guide the podcast. This shit would be fucking cake. This shit's so easy. Especially with what I've already done. I've already almost done 200 podcasts. Especially with what I've already done, this shit would be fucking cake. You literally have the fucking the answers to the test right in front of you. You just have to ask the question and just chop it. That's it. That's
the
easy.
live shows that I've done, I just did one in Dubai, and now I fly to Edmonton for 20 hours with James tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. Yeah, he's gonna fucking suck my soul out of me. He's managed to book us one of those things that's like the side-by-side seats as well, like with the dividing door. I'm just gonna put the door up and not have to speak to him the entire time. But standing on stage, this is kind of old trope for people that listen to Rogan, and they're always on about you work in the material and the crowd energy and the room and the vibe and all this sort of stuff. But it's wild to stand on stage and just have, 80 eyes or 1,000 eyes or whatever it was in the Dubai show the other night, like 1,000 people there or whatever, like just looking at you, and you can't see the end of the room. Yeah. It's just endless.
I'm gonna go and skip ahead.
What Schultz has done.
This is a good part. This is one of my favorite parts of the entire podcast. Pause. That's what I'm saying, Anthony.
The stress and responsibility and paranoia that comes along for the ride with wanting more and success and money can kind of sap the fun out of it. Do you think about enoughness?
I think it's harder to fall asleep quicker. That's for sure. Because when I go to bed, I'm just thinking about all the things that I need to do, should be doing, and haven't done. So that's taken hits.
Some good problems to have.
In my 20s, I never had. I remember I just fall asleep straight away. Now it's a lot harder.
Good problem to have, brother.
Yeah, I think especially right now, I'm in a position.
So like I said, I kind of already have a decent idea of what they're going to be talking about, and this is one of the most genius ideas that I've came up with, really, as I've been doing this. Right? What are the best problems to have? Period. What is the best problems to have? Identify the people who have the type of problems that you want. What are those problems, and how can you get those problems? Right? Because you're never going to be in a position in this life where you have no problems at all. What you can do is select to have the best problems you possibly can, right? So identify what those are going to look like, and like I said, be okay with that. So for example, right, with me choosing to build a personal brand, right, I have to do literally any and every single task that exists, right? And it's all on me. And like I said, it is what I have chosen, though. It is problems that I have chosen. I would much rather be having these problems as opposed to the problems of, dude, what the fuck is my purpose? What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? What, figuring out all a bunch of shit, right? You get to choose the problems that you have in this life, right? So are they good enough for you? And if they're not good enough for you, you must select a different life path that are going to give you the problems that you want, that you see other people having, that you would say, you know what, I really wouldn't mind those problems because right now I have these problems and these problems fucking suck. But those problems, I'd much rather have those problems because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, you're gonna have problems at the end of the day. So all the things they're talking about, oh man, you know what, I can't really sleep at night, man. I have a lot of things to think about, man. You could be in a much shittier position and have much worse problems, but you have those problems. Those are good problems to have, in my opinion.
Where if I really want to, I can go full steam ahead and really take things to the next level. Like everything is in my favor. I have the team. I have, I'm living here in Dubai. I'm at a point where I have a following. I have some respect. So let's go fully into this.
Balls deep.
But then that's going to come at a price. And I know if that's something which I want to do, if you want all the numbers to be increasing, the subscribers increasing, the views, the money, I'm going to have to say goodbye to a couple of things, and it's going to be a sacrifice with relationships. It's going to be a sacrifice to the things which I like to do sometimes. That's like to just wake up and do nothing and do my own thing. Just go for a walk, just chill, take life easy. Like I love nothing more than doing that sometimes, which I had a kind of experience of doing that over the summer where I wasn't working as much, less productive, really just enjoying life and what I've achieved, fruits of my labor. But then after a couple of days or weeks of doing that,
a fucking waste.
Like, fuck, I'm wasting my potential here, and things are starting to go in the reverse direction.
It's fucked. It's fucked feeling.
That was quite a sort of a scary experience for me. I had a big break from doing the podcast. I think I got up to was it 20 episodes? I don't think I'd got myself into that 1%. I was just shy, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, maybe that. I'm the guy. I'm the fucking guy.
I'm that guy that gave up.
Yeah.
Couldn't be me.
I noticed when
Could
I
not
was listening
fucking
to
be
the podcast, because I didn't have my team with me. I was in traveling about a bit. I think I just wasn't, for whatever reason, I'd lost the motivation a little bit. But I just felt like I was doing a disservice to my audience. Like everyone was asking me, when's the next episode? When's the next episode? And I was just like, I don't know. I just felt like what a fucking waste I am. Like I have this potential and opportunity to create these amazing conversations with amazing people, but I'd rather just go to a beach club or go on a date with this girl or just fuck about.
Well, there's a pressure that comes with that.
Fucking.
Yeah, I think about enoughness a good bit. I've got another
Oh,
episode with Paul
shit.
Rossi coming up probably within the next few months. I want to try and really dig into it because I know that he's 99th percentile of hardworking guy. It's very inspiring to be around, but I wonder how scalable and replicable that is with people who don't have his very particular quirk of mindset.
I listen to him and I'm like, fuck, I would like a little bit more of his mindset. I want more of that. I like to work. I want to do more work. I want to do less of the fun things that people want to do. But one thing
you do realize, saying, I want to do less of the fun things, why are you doing more of the work? Presumably because the work is fun. Yeah. So the more direct route to it is just doing the fun thing.
I think if you can find a way that your job is fun, then that's that helps a lot. Like me, and
He's
you
basically
as well,
admitting he's
having
not
the
having
opportunity to
fucking
speak to
fun
some
with what he's
amazing
doing.
People. It's a rewarding job and having a very positive impact on the world. Like it feels pretty damn good, and it doesn't really feel like work. It's a pleasure to be able to do this for a living. I think it's absolutely crazy. Like even this morning training with Kai Green, like I get to train with some of the best bodybuilders on the planet. That's a fucking dream.
Yeah.
And I've got myself into a position where I can do that.
There's definitely and again, I think this is for everybody. You have opportunities that are in front of you, and if you're even remotely competent at what you do, you will always have more opportunities than time to do them in.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your role
You
in
will
life?
always have more opportunities than time to do them in. Go back. Hold up. He's spitting. Fucking Chris, when he's fucking be spitting. Hold up. Run it back. Oh my God! Don't fucking hold me now, brother.
I can do that.
There's definitely and again, I think this is for everybody. You have opportunities that are in front of you.
Okay.
And if you're even remotely competent at what you do, you will
Okay.
always have more opportunities than time to do them in.
Hmm.
Is it your role in life to take every single opportunity that comes your way? What is life outside of those opportunities? Like, how much are you grinding? So this great quote from Morgan Housel that says, "The best measure of wealth is what you have minus what you want. And by this measure, some billionaires are broke."
What
And
you
it's
have.
kind of the same as, what do you want from an achievement perspective? Like,
You know what's good with me? I feel like a lot of the things I wanted to do, I did in my 20s. Like I really did. There's a list
Really
of things.
sent it.
I really did a lot of things I wanted to do.
Is it value
And then
calibrated
once you've
though?
done them, you realize that the majority of the time, it's not actually as good as you thought it would be. You do it, and you're like, it was good, but it was a bit of a letdown. Like I thought it was going to be better. And once you've kind of checked off more things on the list, you just get like more and more motivated to actually just do some work and be of use.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like a bit of fuckery that goes on when you're a kid and you're happy to just bounce around and have fun. But then as you grow up, you realize, okay, well, my time's actually fucking limited.
Yeah.
Like, so what am I here?
The thing I find very, very interesting is what they're talking about. Right, they're dealing with the issues that I am dealing with right now, the mindsets that I have right now. But here's the thing: when they were my age, they were just fucking around. So it makes me think sometimes: should I fuck around a little bit more, or should I really just put my head down and work? Because this is my competition. My competition is people who go out there and kill it, but they're also like 35, like 30s, mid 30s, early 30s. That's my competition. But it's like, should I fuck around more, or should I just lock the fuck in? And I always figured out the answer. Fucking just always lock the fuck in.
Am I here to work and not leave anything on the table, or am I here to find time to? This is still, dude. It must be the most common theme of questions that I've probably asked anybody this year, and it's maybe telling, given like how this year's gone. How can you balance being enough whilst wanting to be more? Like feeling comfortable and content, and your mind is where your feet are in the moment, and being able to take pleasure in the things that you do and the successes that you have, whilst also knowing that you don't want to leave anything on the table and you want to try and maximize your time here, your brief period of 80 years on this planet. And it's still, Sam Harris had this really beautiful idea about the balance of being and becoming that was really lovely. But tactically, I have to say I'm struggling to still really, really get that balance nailed, because so much of what you do when you want to become better, I want to become bigger, I want to become leaner, I want to become richer, I want to move to a better house, I want to move to a better neighborhood, I want to be smarter, I want to be more articulate, whatever. All of those things, as soon as you posit that ideal, you then start to compare yourself to that ideal and you find yourself lacking. And in that lack is dissatisfaction that rips you out of the present moment. But the only reason that you're doing that is presumably so that when you get there, you're like, now I can be in the present moment. But each goal that you hit just pushes another goal. You say, oh, well.
Hold up. I just had a fucking idea. The future is a reality, and it'll never come at the same time. Think about that shit for a second, fellas. Think about that shit for a second. It is a reality and an illusion at the same time. The future is the future is a reality that exists and an illusion at the same time. Let that shit sink in for a second. That's fucking got me cooked.
Yeah, I mean, I've done the 21st episode, so like now it's got to be 50, right? Like 50 is the next goal, or 100 is the next goal, or it's a million, blah 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 blah. Like there's always just another thing.
I think it's really important to celebrate the wins, like to go out and like if
I
you
don't know
do
what the fuck this is.
hit a particular milestone, just go out and celebrate it.
Then you have to define what is the proper celebration, right? I'm about to hit 200 episodes, right? I still have no fucking clue what I'm gonna do for that, right? Because I do believe that is a huge milestone that most people that have done a podcast or are doing a podcast have never even hit before. But I still don't know the proper way to go about it in terms of celebration. I haven't properly celebrated any of the milestones that I've hit. I recently hit 100,000 views. Total, which is a pretty good achievement, I'd say. It obviously, like I said, I could be doing better, of course, and that's like literally my mindset. Regardless of what I hit, if I fucking hit 1 million, yeah, I could do better. You know, I could do better. I didn't really, you know, celebrate it as well as I could. I'm probably still gonna have the same fucking problems in the future. God damn it. But like I said, those are some good problems to have. But at the same time, like I said, I say that in the future, right? When you get to the future is really just going to be the present, and the future is going to be a different future. Because, like I had mentioned, the future is simply an illusion. It is a reality that will exist in the future. The future is a reality that exists in the future, but it is also an illusion to the present moment. Because it will happen, but it won't happen. You see, it's all fucked.
And then come back and then set a new goal. I think it's the most difficult thing I've had now, particularly when I go through phases where I'm super motivated and I want to grow. It's like the friendship aspect and the relationship aspect takes a hit. Like if you're trying to go full steam ahead with your business and all these opportunities you have in front of you, I've noticed when I've been in a relationship, any spare time that I have to devote that to my partner, which then means I have to fuck my friends off.
Yeah.
Imagine, could not be me.
Let's say, for example, I was single, then that gives me an opportunity to spend more time with my friends. Like to try and juggle everything is really difficult.
I think
Fuck
Ryan
yeah.
Holiday's got scene, business, family. Pick two. You can be a part of the scene, you can be successful in business, can be a great part of your family, but it's really, really, really rough to do all three. Who would I say that seems to have got it all? I don't know much about Joe's family life, although it seems he seems to have got that pretty dialed.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah. He seems to have certainly got two of them sorted.
Imagine us, like we're in a situation now, we don't even have kids and we're already fucking complaining.
Mental. But yeah,
That's been an interesting thing as well. Is like a lot of the people that I do admire, they don't have the things that I would like. So like I said, already my trajectory is going to be a little bit different than theirs are, based off of the simple fact that I have different values and different wants and different future realities than they have in their present reality, right? I think that's just an interesting thing to think about as well, right? Is what the fuck do you actually want? Do you, like I said, if I was 35 and I had a very, very successful business, but I didn't have any kids and I didn't really have the partner that I needed, what the fuck are you doing it for? Like, who the fuck wants to be like 35, 40, having kids, and then they're like 1 or 2, and then you're like 35, 40? I never understood that shit. To be, in my opinion, I never understood that shit. But it's like, I guess, do you, brother? 35 minus 22, 13 years ahead of them in the long run. Anthony, you're fucking right, man. Lock the fuck in.
I know what you mean. Oliver Berkman has this other idea about choose in advance what you're going to suck at, which is pretty cool. So
fuck, that's a bar.
For a period of time, you're going to work on your business and you're going to grow your net worth, or you're going to try and double the revenue of your business, or you're going to try and get a raise or get a promotion or do whatever. That period of life, just as important as what are you going to do, is what are you prepared to sacrifice for it. Because, you know, if you need to stay late in the office 3 nights a week for the next 6 months so that your boss sees the work that you're doing, or so that you get more sales in, or so that you do whatever it is that you need to do, your trading's probably going to take a hit.
Yeah.
And when you start to see your condition or your fitness depreciate over time, if you're a type A go-getter, you can feel uncomfortable and say, oh, well, that shouldn't be happening. And then you take your eye off the ball of the thing that was supposed to be your thing for the next 6 months. And
So yeah, I want to mention this because I think this is very, very interesting. He's kind of hinting to it, right? This is something that I've kind of been introduced to um, for like the last few weeks. Is It was this concept that my favorite YouTuber Hamza had mentioned. He goes, the people that have the life that he wants don't necessarily have the balance. The type A go getters that he mentioned, they don't necessarily have the full balance, right? And he said that balance is somewhat of an illusion in itself because people want balance, but in reality, in order to get what most people want, you have to be unbalanced in certain aspects of life or certain seasons of life. You're going to be imbalanced. So therefore, in totality, you're never really going to be balanced. And if you try to balance, it's going to be a little bit harder, right? I would say one person that I can kind of see has it somewhat dialed um, through their morning routine is my other favorite YouTuber, Dan Coe, which is one thing I admire about him and something that I'm trying to emulate myself, is the way that he has with his morning routine, where he basically fronts his work early on in the morning, right? Gets the most important work done, and then obviously he goes to the gym midway through, right? He goes to the gym midway through his day, right after he got his work done, and then now he can begin to work on things outside of um, his work, right? Maybe his relationships, or maybe spending time with his friends, or maybe doing that. And like I said, I would say that's probably the most like when he's speaking about being dialed and somewhat balanced. I feel like that would probably be probably your best bet, fronting your work up front. And then, like I said, if you need to do work later on, not letting it necessarily compromise the other aspects of your life that you're actually working for. Because there's things that you're working for. You're working to have more free time, you would think. So you would think. So you could strive to be more balanced. So you think. You see what I'm saying?
I'll only stay late in the office one night a week, and I'll fit training. I'll slot training in 2 more nights. You go, well, that wasn't the plan. The plan was put everything into this one thing, level myself up, and then play catch up with everything else to bring myself back up to baseline. So yeah, choose in advance what you want to suck at is like a really, really good tactic, because it helps you when other things start to slip.
Yeah.
It stops it feeling like an error or a curse of some kind, and actually is like, oh, this is part of the plan. This was actually part of the plan. Part of the plan was I wouldn't get to see my friends as much, or my sleep would suffer, or my fitness would suffer, or my business would suffer because we've just had a kid or whatever. Like, I think that's important.
And that thing that sucks at the moment, it's not going to suck later on.
Precisely.
Like, you can easily
Switch out the
around.
suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, like,
Switch
especially
out
right
the
now,
suck is crazy.
for the next couple of years, next 5 years, I want to go all in on just, okay, let's try and build a solid businesses, whatever it might be, make myself extremely financially comfortable so that later on, when I get to my late 30s, 40s, when it's time to, really raise a family, I'm in a very comfortable situation where I can do that and then devote more of my time to raising my kids and being there for my partner.
That's the plan that I think I've got as well. That
Bullshit.
one of my friends,
I don't
David
believe they're
Corral,
gonna be
told me
either of them gonna be able to do
most of my 20s was spent making myself into the dad that my future kids deserve. And I really like that idea that you're putting a lot of work in now, which is gratifying in the moment. It would be like way, way too full of myself to be like, and all of this is for the sacrifice for my future kids. It's like, no, it's not. Like, I take loads of pleasure from the things that I do.
Matt does fitness, does a great job of raising his kids.
All right,
He's
so
a very good
Mike
role model
Thurston's
for
33.
being a father.
Mike Thurston's 33, and the other guy, Chris Williamson, he's 35. So it's like that's an interesting thing, brother. That's an interesting thing, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have kids later, and then I'm gonna be balanced, and then I'm gonna yeah, brother, you're in the deep end, brother. If you're not able to maintain it or balance it or figure it out right now, it's gonna be so fucking hard when you're 40, dog. When you're 40, and then you're trying to have kids, and then they're 10 years old and you're fucking 50, and then they're 20 years old and you're 60, and they're 30 years old and you're 70, and then they're 25, and then you're fucking dead, dude, because you're already that old. That's tough. Like I said, I would like to, ideally speaking, I would like to have kids within the next, shit. I would say probably about 28 for me, maybe 5 years, 6 years. Dedicate the next 5 or 6 years. Head down, grind, see what happens, then have kids. That's ideal to me. I know this is out of context, but I feel like I need to tell you, but that the gentleman's sweep has been completed. My boy, thanks for letting me know.
He's just,
Chad to dad pipeline.
yeah, he's in a position where he doesn't have to go to work. He's even built like a home gym at home, so he can just spend more time with his family. And like you can see how well he's raised his two boys. Like whenever you're around them, they're just like the happiest, most positive. Like they're even comfortable in front of the camera. They're already like really skilled at like loads of random different things because Matt has been there all the time to teach them, educate them, and push them.
But you've got to have that. It's interesting what you say. I think I always, about the finance thing, I think I always kind of steered clear of commenting on finances, largely because I came from such a fucking working class background that money was just never a consideration, and it wasn't really that much of a discussion always. So I kind of steered clear of talking about it. But, you know, Tate mentioned it too, that until you're financially liberated, you're kind of at the mercy of a lot of things. And financially liberated doesn't mean like compound in Romania. It just means more money than you need to be able to live and not having to compensate by working an insane number of hours that ruins the rest of your life outside of it.
You have so much more freedom.
Yeah.
I'd say about 10K a month.
I mean,
for the most part, most people are
It's funny now,
pretty chilling with that, I'd say.
As obviously the
10,
podcast
15K.
has grown, you have more staff to take care of. Like you've got salaries to pay for now. You've got studios to pay for.
Yeah.
It's not that you need to earn more money so you can live a better life. It's no, I need to also earn more money so I can take the quality of my production to the next level and ensure that I can keep giving you guys the best. So I can fly to the other side of the planet to go and speak to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one, man. I don't know. It's like it's been a very interesting year, like quite a disquieting year in some ways, like so satisfying, but also just rapid changes in status. This is one of the things about like a kid like Sam, who even more than either of us in terms of the rapidity of his change of status. People say that they want, you know, fame and accolade and wealth, but just having it thrown at you is fucking terrifying.
Somewhat,
Yeah, I had
but
this idea,
it's a pretty decent problem to have, though.
that I learned from Jimmy Carr. Trajectory is way more important than position. If you're number 2 in the world, but last year you were number 1, that is way worse than sitting at number 150, but being on a huge upward slope from number 300 12 months ago. There's a few reasons for this. Recency bias. If your value is increasing now, that means that you have to be popular at the moment. By looking at recent trajectory, you're selecting for only the people who are trendy right now, which really is all that we can remember. We can also romanticize where someone will be in future if they're currently hot shit. How high might they go? Who knows? Maybe to the top, maybe even beyond the top. Humans struggle to realize that everything is temporary, including growth and decline. Instead, it's easy to label people as heroes and losers based on what we know of them right now, so we don't have to predict a messy future. There's an old saying that there's 3 types of people on the ladder, one at the bottom, one at the middle, and one at the top. Which one is the best to be? The one that's still climbing. This doesn't just work for status, but possessions, achievements, wealth, sex, and everything else. It's not just how we see other people, it's also how we see ourselves. We know when we're moving up or down, when life is getting better or worse. Andrew Tate said, having things isn't fun. Getting things is fun. Another way to look at this is any accomplishment is just a new higher bar for you to get over in future. I see this in my own work. Let's say that we do a new episode that hits 1 million plays in a day. Amazing. That's very exciting and a new record. Wow. Also, that means that every video in future is now going to feel unimpressive unless it does 1.1 million views or higher in 24 hours. In this way, rapid increases in status are more a curse than a blessing. So here's a theory which I co-signed with Dan Bilzerian like a few weekends ago, so you know it's legit. Even though we might want our goals and accomplishments to arrive immediately, maybe a smarter strategy is to stretch out the achievements of our dreams. We shouldn't...
Yo, stop tweaking right now, brother.
The strategy is to stretch out the achievements of our dreams. We shouldn't wish for overnight success, as we would then need to be able to beat it pretty soon, lest we feel like we're declining. Instead, slow, consistent progress is a more reliable way to maintain satisfaction. Purposefully aiming for...
You gotta be fucking serious. You gotta be actually serious, brother. We're gonna go back. Stop fucking around, bro. What's going on, bro? What's going on, bro? Oh my God.
Lest we feel like we're declining. Instead, slow, consistent progress is a more reliable way to maintain satisfaction. Purposefully aiming for slow success strategy may actually ensure you always feel like you're going in the right direction.
100%. It's almost like if you were to win the lottery, like if you were to be given 100 mil versus actually working your ass off, over time, your salary or however much money you're earning gradually increases. And then
this is fucked up.
that.
That's fucked. Okay, hold up, man. I want to give you my take on this shit though. So they're talking about constantly being on an like an incline, right? Constantly being in an incline is much better than just fucking hitting the fucking ceiling instantly, right? So it's much better to just be like this, gradual incline, as opposed to just like fucking going from here to here, right? I would say that is probably true because you're going to decrease the level of dissatisfaction, like Chris had mentioned, with hitting the top too early or not being ready to hit the top. And then, like he had mentioned, the top would be simply the new ceiling. The goal is essentially the new ceiling that you will have in the future. That's an interesting way to look at it. I've never heard anybody really say it exactly like that. But yeah, that is exactly true, because now it becomes your new bare minimum, because that is something that is achievable. So therefore, if it's achievable, it should be replicable. And if it's replicable, then of course you would want to do better than that, which is an interesting thing. But yeah, I would say with my trajectory, it always being on the incline, I think it definitely has its perks, but it's also like this, right? Like, let's just say I were to blow up over a clip that I made on this podcast, right? Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, right? I blew up from a clip from this podcast. It wouldn't feel like my success was overnight, as opposed to like somebody like Sketch, for example, who literally started streaming 6-7 months ago, and all of a sudden is now at the top, right? Is literally everywhere, right? His entire perspective would be different. He probably didn't have to feel like he really got it out the mud as much. So his juxtaposition would be a little bit different, as opposed to, like I said, putting in the work for years and years and years, and then finally getting that burst that you somewhat need, or that you somewhat would like, and then it would, like I said, you'd be more well prepared, and more, I would say, I'm not gonna say deserving. I don't think deserving is the right word, but essentially I would say more prepared mentally for that. And I think, like I said, if that happened to me, or when that happens to me, yeah, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, like this isn't no damn near overnight success, brother. This is simply just another one of these things, man. This is just another mountain to climb, brother. That's all it was.
Well, okay, now I've got 100 mil. Which one's more satisfying?
It's a curse. I think you would look back on it as almost certainly the best and worst day of your life at the same time. You got gifted a unbelievable amount of money, or an unbelievable amount of status, or whatever. How are you ever going to have a better day than that day?
I always thought that, I was like, oh god, it'd be so cool if I won the lottery, but it would literally fuck me up in the worst way.
Yeah,
I would hate that.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird the way that we play with status. And what's the energy that you're trying to prioritize in your life at the moment? Like, what is it? What sort of people do you want around you? What sort of vibe are you trying to prioritize?
I think people who are going to help inspire me. I think that's what I struggle with sometimes on a day-to-day basis, with being motivated, especially when you've got to the point where you've got everything you really need. Like, look, I have a nice car, I have a nice apartment, I've got great friends. Like, I mean, what more do I really need in my life? When I spend more time with people who are ahead of me, financially, business-wise, whatever it might be, even just being around them gives me I don't know, I guess I'm kind of a little bit competitive as well. Like, it makes me want to be like, oh no, I want to get.
That's something that I really
So
wish that I had a little bit more, is like people just a little bit more ahead of me in what I'm trying to go ahead and pursue. I feel like that would give me like a huge boost. Not that I don't like helping people out. That is my purpose. My purpose is to help everyone else around me succeed. Like, let's just say, more than they would without me, right? Of course, that is my position, but I feel like that would be something that would be something that would be so great for me in my own, like. And I would say just anybody in general. I just feel like I'm that guy for a lot of people when it comes to just like trying to get them to the next level on this certain aspect or skill of life. I'm usually that guy. It would be nice to be friends with that guy as well, right? That'd be nice.
to achieve with this. I'm certainly past the days where I was interested in like the partying and doing that kind of thing. I think when we last spoke, it was already getting to that point. But even
Bro, it took you
now,
fucking.
I compare
God damn.
what my desires were at the start of this year compared to what my desires are now, and they've definitely changed for the better.
What do you think's caused that to happen?
Hopefully you mature, brother.
I think just coming to the realization of what is like really important.
Took him to 33 to
Knowing
understand that.
a lot of things which
Isn't
I
that
wanted to
interesting?
do, I've done, and I think I'd put myself in a few situations this summer where I had been at like parties. Obviously, I went to Ibiza a couple of times, doing the usual.
I can't. I'm done with this shit. I'm sorry. I love this podcast. We're gonna move on to a different one.
50,000 views and we leak the pot. I mean, come on, man. Come on, bro. I'm joking. Right. Okay.
Fuck. Sorry. We're gonna figure this shit out, fellas. Bro, I don't know why this shit's tweaking right now, brother. This was they be spitting game in this fucking one. I remember this. All right, now it's hoeing. It's hoeing. It's hoeing. It's hoeing. It's hoeing. Bruh, if I really have to end this shit, about an hour, 16 minutes. Not too bad, brother. Oh, okay.
Making some vlogs too where we continue our travels. We need to get a camera. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was saying yesterday that he's living a pretty eclectic life. At the age of 19, he's had so many interesting experiences.
Okay.
I'll have some tea in a second.
We can order some tea. They got great tea, great coffee here.
Oh, please, thank you.
Anything you guys want to order,
This shit fucking hoes, brother. I'm gonna be sick. I'm trying to just give y'all the best quality, brother. Give me a second, though. That shit's annoying. No cap, no cap. Alright, guess not. Fuck it. God damn, brother. Come on. Alright. So I fucking rumbles shit. I'm sorry. See, look at this is 9 fucking day. Maybe it's the fucking reaction. Maybe we just have to end this shit off, but come on, brother. There's no way my connection's this shit. I'm literally cooked. Let's try this.
Or that's been developing within me about how we come to complex knowledge.
Watch this. This motherfucker's too fucking smart, dude. I can't even believe this shit. Blows my fucking mind every time. We'll react to this, and this will be the last one for the day. Fucking, this guy's a fucking. I cannot believe this motherfucker's this smart. Who the fuck lets this motherfucker be this smart?
Okay, so let me run something by you. It's a vision that's been developing, or that's been developing within me about how
Isn't that so fucking
we
crazy?
come to complex knowledge. So, and it's a vision of hierarchical mapping, and I think it probably maps on the movement from the right hemisphere to the left. So you tell me what you think about this, all right? So the first strata. So imagine a tree.
Okay.
All right.
A tree.
I imagine the tree with the trunk of fire, and I imagine the tree emerging from the head of God. That was
Sure.
part of this vision, by the way. We'll leave that in the background for the time being. Okay, so
Dude's
up
like, what the fuck
trunk,
is going
there's
on?
a disc, and that disc is the realm of patterns in the world.
Okay.
Right. And so what we perceive are patterns in the world, and we perceive functional patterns as obstacles or tools. It's something like that. But the patterns are in the world.
Sure.
So that's the logos of the cosmos, you might say. All right. And then the second tier is the behavioral mapping of that. So, of course, if we're walking across hills and dales, the path of our navigation maps the trajectory of the landscape. And as we interact with each other, we modify our behavior to take the reality of other people into account. And as we maneuver together in groups, we adapt ourselves to the reality of the environment that we're traversing. And so the behavioral realm contains a compressed representation of the let's say, the underlying patterns of material reality.
Yeah.
All right. So that's both adaptation and representation,
Yeah.
because we can act out things we understand, right? And that would be equivalent to procedural memory in the memory literature, right? Like the knowledge of how to ride a bike, for example, or how to ski.
I'll come back to that.
Okay. Well, next strata, it's imagination. See, one of the things I was trying to crack is how dreams can contain more information than the dreamer understands. Right, like a work of fiction can be susceptible to analysis because the work of fiction contains more information even than the fiction author intended.
Yeah.
It's partly because
Crazy
it
as fuck.
contains representations of behavior.
Yeah.
Okay, so we establish an imaginative realm, and it captures some of the contours of the environment, but also some of the contours of the behavioral world.
Yeah.
And so in our dreams, we have images of action, and those images of action represent social mores and the world. But then there's a further level of abstraction, and that would be the linguistic level. And what the linguistic level seems to me to do is to compress the imaginative level, which is compress the behavioral level, which is in some ways compress the material level. And I'm wondering if that move from novelty to routinization parallels that, right? So we first grip things in the sort of Piagetian sense behaviorally. Then we can imagine that, right? So we've got, in dramatic, using images per se, and then we further compress that. See, that also helps us understand what we mean when we say understand.
Dude, 3 fucking minutes in, this guy is... I cannot believe this motherfucker even exists. I like what he mentioned. Like I said, I can only speak on a few of these things, man. Like I said, I'm usually a lot better at speaking about what Jordan Peterson has to say, right? What I'm going to say is this, right? The fact that he correlated dreams and the meaning of dreams to fictional stories that have a good moral lesson that could transcend the author's intent with writing the material, but it having the ability to mean more than what the writer intended. That's just so, like, the fact that somebody can even, like, think of that shit is just mind-blowing. I can't even believe it. But yeah, I think that is interesting, right? I feel like, but part of it's like, why are you trying to rationalize a dream? So he's basically saying dreams are more significant than what people give them credit for. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I guess a dream could be saying more because it is a subconscious speaking, right? It is something that you can't control. It is speaking for you in a sense, without speaking for you. But then again, it is bullshit. But then again, is it really bullshit? You see what I'm saying, man? Just like, what the fuck? I don't even know. But yeah, no, I think that's very, very interesting. Like, go ahead and comment if you are picking up what I'm putting down. But he's basically saying that dreams are significant and could be perceived of greater value from the masses to the point where it can get you to learn more about yourself if you were to thoroughly analyze them and trying to break down the lessons that potentially could be had in these dreams, right? Most people are just going to say, what the fuck are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're overthinking this shit. But he's basically saying he thinks that most people are underthinking this. He said that this might have some utility within the real world if you were to analyze it as if it could have more utility within the real world. Right? I think, like I said, I've had some fucking "what are you doing" brain moments in my dreams, but I don't know if that's always the most telltale sign of what is actually going on. I guess kinda it could be, but like, can it be? I guess you can say maybe certain dreams, but then it's like, who's to say that some dreams are more important than others, and maybe some are going to be significant, maybe others are going to be non-significant. Is that exactly how it's going to be? Just as your inputs are, some are significant, some are not. But essentially, we can't control our inputs fully. We can influence them. We can't control them completely, right? Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I'll just play that shit. Both you and Peterson need to slow it down, cause that was a big ass mind fuck y'all just dropped. My bad, G. We'll go and play that bitch.
Because if you can take a word and you can unfold it to an image,
Okay.
and then you can decompress that to an alteration in behavior, which is, I think, what you do if a word has significance, then
Like inspire.
you've united all those levels of analysis, but there's also a concordance there that I think is indicative of something like the validity of an idea. So, okay, so that's a lot of information. I understand that, but I'm
Yeah.
He just
I
fucking
mean,
dropped the
my
fucking
initial reaction
right
is
on
it's
his
only
ass.
schematic. Because I think what's really happening is that experience is taken in at a bodily level and is immediately grasped by the right hemisphere, which is better in touch with the unconscious than the left. But then I think, as you say, we stand back from reality in order to create pattern, to see the way in which things relate. But I think this is more or less a function of the frontal lobes of both hemispheres, that they enable us to stand back enough to get, as it were, the bird's eye view of the landscape. But the abstraction, I'd like to separate that out, because I think that's what the left hemisphere really specializes in, is abstracting. And when you abstract, you are left really with something like a skeleton. You're left with a diagram, a theory, a map that doesn't have all the embodied knowledge. But the thing is that we imagine, or a lot of people imagine, they have this image in their mind, the unconscious is a tank somewhere down there underneath, but we're living in this conscious realm, and occasionally things pop up and so on. But actually, the bit of our cognitive function of which we are aware is less than 0.5%, and it's been estimated that 99.44% of our cognition is we're unaware of. Now, of course, the specificity of that is only a mu.
Do you know, here's the thing, brother. That's almost damn near saying you are not in control of your life, but you kind of are, but you're kind of not at the same time. You are literally a victim, but you're kind of not a victim at the same time. So, like, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, that is true, right? You basically aren't in control, really, but you can kind of influence it. But if you realize this, right, most people are not intentional at all, right? This is something that I observed. So, like he said, that, like, he said 99.4%, whatever it is of the unconscious, right? So you're telling me, here's the thing, I've met motherfuckers 100% unconscious, like 100% not, definitely not conscious of the way that they react to this life at all. But here's the thing, you're telling me I only got 99, I only got 0.6 or 0.5, really? Okay, sure. Like I said, for argument's sake, let's just say that is true. That just goes to show you how literally anything and everything that you consume, even this word that I'm saying right now, how it can literally alter your dreams and alter your visions and alter your reality just by consuming this type of information. Isn't that fucking mind-blowing? Life is fucking crazy. We're gonna play this bitch.
To me, but nonetheless, it drives home the point that most of everything we know is extraordinarily fertile in a way that our abstracted thinking can't be, because it's always got to simplify. It's always got to state this in preference to that. Whereas in the unconscious realm, nothing has to be sacrificed in that way, because things are drawn together. And I believe our
Reading these comics. That motherfucker looked shook as fuck. He wondering what the fuck he was trying to interview Peterson. What the fuck he was thinking to try to interview Peterson? That's crazy. Do smart. Don't sleep. Hold on, let me go back.
And I believe our intuitions are much richer than reasoning on the basis of them.
I agree, 100%.
So we need to reason on the basis of them. We need to validate them or not. Perfectly correct. But we shouldn't too quickly collapse our intuitions, because our intuitions are able to hold a number of strands that to our expressive intellect seem to be contrary to one another, but they're not. They fulfill one another, importantly, you know. So
okay, let me try to break this shit down. He's basically saying that we need to pay attention to our reasoning, because our reasoning has been developed and hopefully well curated, but at the same time, we need to pay attention and give the correct respect to our intuition. But but the only way we really need to do that is by balancing kind of both, or one's going to overwhelm and the other's going to be discarded. which cannot necessarily that's probably going to be a bad thing, right? Like let's just say you're going based off of only intuition and not by actual logical reasoning. There's gonna be plenty of situations where you're fucked, and there's also gonna be plenty of situations where if you go just based off of logic and not really going by the gut feeling that you have or the intuition that comes to you that not necessarily comes to you but like comes over you, right? Pause on that, right? That would probably be the balance that you probably need. You probably need to figure out how to balance both of these things, but at the same time, it's like the intuition is interesting in itself because it's peaking. It's emphasizing knowledge that we cannot necessarily see the logical reasoning why it would need to be implemented, but at the same time, our body is telling us or our mind is suggesting to us that it is of importance and that it cannot really go unnoticed. And then there's the people that go ahead and neglect that, right? That try to over rationalize with their logical thinking that this is the way that it needs to be, and then they end up being wrong or end up having a misstep because they didn't listen to that intuition, right? Balancing both is definitely going to be is definitely an interesting thing, and like I said, it's hard not to neglect one if you're valuing the other. Like I say, at least that's what I think he's saying.
I believe that the whole onslaught on intuition, which we now find with high-paid psychologists going around businesses telling people not to trust their intuitions, is a scam. And it's a very delusional one. It's encouraging people to disattend to something incredibly important. Now, of course, the intuition can be wrong.
Intuition can be wrong, but intuition can also supersede logic in certain periods of time. And you might know something without necessarily having the logical reasoning for knowing something. And what I mentioned with this is I've seen it more prevalent within women than I have men. Women are a lot more in tune with this through my experience, right? They know things before they know things. They know things that they probably let's just say that they shouldn't know because logically speaking, they really can't necessarily explain it. I've met very, very few women who are very, very let's just say super articulate speakers, right? But their ability to just feel, and then it's that notion of within society, oh yeah, they're really just gonna go based off of feeling. But yes, if the feeling is intuition, there's plenty of women that I would suggest that for whatever reason they have these certain inclinations, like I said, that supersedes their ability to articulate and their ability to reason, but is still correct. Like I said, the shit's just very, very weird. But I would say a lot of men really need to tap in with that shit because, quite frankly, for me personally, like I said, I just have witnessed this time and time again with women, and more often than not, they have been right or have known things that they might have not, or maybe they shouldn't have known, based off of them just listening to a source that is greater than the knowledge that would suggest that way should be the way that it is. It's insane.
But so can just a line of reasoning lead you to the wrong place.
Facts.
Whether you're feeling stressed.
Nah, we ain't having none of this. No ads, brother. I ain't getting paid for this shit, brother.
So the other thing that struck me when I was reviewing your book last night, it was something like you talked about the left hemisphere's proclivity to fabricate. And so is it something like, do you suppose it's something like the proclivity of the left to reduce things to algorithms, to governed algorithms, and then to try to extend the domain of those rules beyond? I mean, the purpose of having a theory is so that you can use a simple set of principles to generate a variety of explanations, right? And so there's obvious utility in that if the principles are correct.
Sure.
But there's very little difference between that and a delusion if the first principles are incorrect.
Absolutely.
Right. And so,
yes.
And that's really at the basis of a condition like paranoid schizophrenia.
Absolutely.
Because they'll have a set of principles and they can endlessly spin off explanatory theories, and they're credible, but they're wrong.
They're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, seriously wrong.
Which illuminates perfectly you did my work for me there in unpacking how reason can lead you to the wrong place. Because as Chattin said, a madman is not somebody who's lost his reason. He's lost everything but his reason. And so
shit.
Voice and
That shit's crazy. What? Brother, don't say that, brother. I'm gonna go back, run it back one more time. God damn, that motherfucker spitting.
perfectly you did my work for me there in unpacking how reason can lead you to the wrong place.
Facts.
Because, as Chesterton said, a madman is not somebody who's lost his reason. He's lost everything but his reason. And so he hears a voice and thinks, well,
That's crazy,
true
bro.
for a condition like paranoid schizophrenia.
It is absolutely. And Eugene Mankowski, the Franco-Polish psychiatrist and philosopher, wrote about this very, very beautifully about schizophrenia and effectively illuminating the difference between the left hemisphere and the right. Because I see schizophrenia as a condition in which the left hemisphere is in overdrive and the right, in an attempt, if you like, to compensate for a hypo-functioning right hemisphere.
Bro, I can watch that shit all fucking day, son. That shit is up heat. That shit's heat, brother. Holy shit. I need a dictionary to listen to Jordan Peterson. Bro, I've been listening to him for fucking like 7 years. Dude is a G. I went to go see him. Oh my God. That dude is so smart, bro. He's so smart. Yeah, fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and end it off here in a minute. Like I want to go ahead and say a few more things, man. This is just a little bit of something different, right? Obviously, if you know me, I have a podcast, and that is something that I do very, very often. And I'll do it. I'm gonna do it on Thursday, so tap in with that for sure. But I do believe that I'll be doing these more, and I think the people need more of this type of behavior for me. So we're gonna go ahead and keep doing this shit. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Like I said, if you're new, make sure you go ahead and subscribe and leave a like on the video if there's anything that I said or anything that was said that you enjoyed, or maybe it made you think a certain way. I want you to go ahead and let me know, right? All the creators that I had watched, I would definitely recommend all of them. They're fantastic. They're all the people that I watch on a daily basis. Mike Thurston, Jordan Peterson, Chris Williamson, fantastic. All of them are fantastic. But yeah, I just wanted to give you some of my takes and shit, and like I said, I can watch that shit all day long for damn sure. A madman is not somebody who has lost his reasoning, but somebody who has lost everything but his reasoning. Exactly. That shit was fucking heat, boy. That shit was heat. But yeah, I'm going to be doing this. I want to try to start doing these daily. So if you enjoyed, like I said, if there's any videos that you want me to see, let me know. And I'm definitely going to do a lot more of these reactions. I think these are entertaining, but at the same time, like I said, I'm trying to give y'all the game, fella. I'm trying to give y'all the game, son. So I'm gonna keep doing that, man. So appreciate everyone stopping by. Tapping with a podcast on Thursday. I'm gonna try to run this shit back tomorrow. We'll see what happens with it. But let's fucking get it, man. Let's get it. All right, y'all have a good night, man. Before I go, I'll leave you guys off with the motto. You already know the motto of the channel. This is the channel motto, not just the podcast motto. The channel motto, right? Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all working these motherfuckers, because you know that I am, and because you know all the people that are in my life are, just as all the people in your life should be as well. Y'all have a good night, man.